All right, ladies and gentlemen, got your watch list coming into October 29th, 2019, and we got history in the making. If you've been following me for a long time, you remember the infamous TLT play. We turned $100 into $10,000, and I'm starting this scheme up again. I think we might have a play here, but I want to talk about history in the making right now in revelation of this because we have a lot coming up this week. So I got potential plays for you. We're going to talk about the TLT. It's the same. I got some for the sickos, some for just, balancing out. We got our keys for tomorrow as well as some of the other potential plays we made today. I want to go over all that and talk about really what we have this week here, but some of the main things we're going to be focusing on coming into one of the biggest earnings week, and again, the Fed and all of that stuff, which I think has kind of crept up on us, so I want to take advantage of it. We had a good day on stream today. I love all of you guys. Appreciate all of you guys watching, so thank you for being here. Continue to be positive, respectful, love life. Appreciate everything you got there. If I do start to get excited and crazy and start speaking too fast and you don't know what's going on, we are live Monday through Friday, 30 minutes before open, so make sure you're subscribed. It's the first link in the description or it's pinned in the comments, so you could always come there, ask questions, shout out other people helpful in the comment section as well too. And we post these watch lists every single night, so you could kind of get a recap of what's happening here in the markets as well as see kind of the plays and also understand option trading is extremely risky. You can't lose out on what's your financial investment. Please consult the financial advisor. None of this is a recommendation for financial advice. It's educational purposes only. So I'm sharing what I'm doing. We took even another loss here on Google today, and I'm mad. I had an iron condor literally at these prices. If you remember me saying that there today, it didn't get filled. So if you did get a fill on it, let me know what you got on there. That'd be kind of dope. But there's going to be stuff to watch tomorrow. So drop your thumbs up at the video. Make sure you subscribe. And the most important thing you need to do, post your watch list below. Let us know what you're looking at, what you're playing, and let me know if you agree with the TLT play or not. I'm going to go over some of the statistics with that, but it's going to get interesting. So let's talk about the keys for tomorrow. And this is related to what I'm saying with the Fed. Something unexpected is about to happen. I think either I'm going crazy, God's talking to me, there's a YOLO demon, a FOMO demon, I don't know what it is, but we're coming into an interesting spot here, and especially with the Fed, this is where it gets kind of interesting. That sound familiar? There's a lot of different factors going on, so watch what's happening here. We did start to see today was a very good day. Watch the currencies and how it is, but even then, like I'm saying, if it's unexpected and we start expecting something that's unexpected, is it really unexpected? So pretty much we're at a critical point here. That's kind of how I'm feeling with it, and it's not really based on anything new that's came out, more or less kind of how everything else from the past, all the way down from the repos to the earnings to how the markets have responded and shifted from the trade war and where we're at now. This is kind of what's factoring into it, but the key here is going to be Wednesday. Now we are going to have Facebook and Apple earnings on Wednesday, which are going to be huge, and tomorrow is going to get a lot of companies as well that are going to affect the Dow. So some of the Dow components and how that moves, that is going to be very interesting to watch, because and why it's interesting, since some of you guys ask why I say interesting so much, it will be interesting to see if these big Dow components report and some of these healthcare companies and all that, to see if they have a big impact on the market in terms of if they do good or bad, how will the averages average out? Will we see a push and pull, or will it get negated by something else, which is kind of what we saw today even with transports. A lot of things did good, but then transport started slipping, so keep your eye on that as well too. But the key here is Wednesday and watching for the Fed surprise. I brought this up yesterday, and the key, we've been watching this, the market is now pricing a 95% chance of a rate cut. That means the market is all thrown in and positioned into one direction here, and this is where it gets interesting, because this is where now we could get a surprise, and big man Jerome Powell, he could redeem himself with the shocker. If you guys have been watching, the last time we made that TLT play, that was when me and Jerome Powell had to have we had a nasty breakup. Y'all might think that's funny, but I'm actually really salty what happened last time. I thought Jerome Powell was going to stick to the economics guns and hold it down for all us economists out there and the fundamentals and everything going on, but he caved and he ended up cutting rates. I didn't expect he was. But now the same thing is happening again. This is what I mean by history in the making here. And this was that last time we did the play, even though we were wrong. So we'll see how that plays out here again. But the point is, this will be the first time in 40 years now where that's where it comes down. Last time it was either the first time they cut rates, or now this will be the first time they don't follow this. So if you're not familiar with this, this is the Fed futures, and this is kind of how the market, and this is showing what the market and market participants are really willing to pay for these futures on these short-term interest rate bonds or these assets. And now the key is, anytime this number is above 60%, the Fed does what the market is pricing in. So if in this case, since the market's pricing in 90% cut rates, they're going to cut the rates because they do not like to upset the market. And last time we did get more clarification from Powell, he said he's pretty much always going to follow this. He didn't say it explicitly, but that was what we were able to assume. But this is now where it gets interesting, and this is what brings up the importance of Wednesday, and this is going to bring up that TLT play we need to talk about, because now this is bringing up something important, whereas we've talked about this. The last meeting, they said they're not going to cut rates. So if they cut rates, the Fed could lose their credibility, and that wouldn't be good, first of all. But one of the bigger points now, this could even start to affect the bonds, because even if they do what the market wants and cuts rates, historically, anytime the Fed has now cut 3/4 of a point, they've cut these last 2 times, it's been a 1/4 point each time. The minute they go above 0.75%, or 0.75 basis points, they have only done that in a recessionary cycle. So if this occurs now, the market might panic, and that could start to affect TLT and the bonds. Or if, depending, again, either way, this is where I'm going to have my theory, and I'm going to scale into this play tomorrow, but I do want to see how it develops coming into it, because I want to see if there is any last minute changes here. But the final level is that they said they're not going to do it. The trend wouldn't be good, but regardless, I think regardless of any decision they make, it might lead to people flocking into bonds. If they cut rates, people will say, well, why did the Fed backtrack and not listen to themselves and do what they said they weren't going to do? And that's if they cut rates. But then if they don't, the market is probably going to have a little tantrum there and go a little crazy, because that will be a clear upset to what they were saying. But it could make sense too if they wanted to not cut. And this is why this meeting is going to be so important, because there's the history of it, there's how the market's looking, but now if they don't cut, it might make sense here with the 2019 year coming to an end, where they wouldn't want to cut to leave room on the table for December, but we will see. So that is what we're going to be watching out for, so keep your eye out for that. And I guess now, since I made it as the title, we'll start with this play. Here are the 2 plays I'm looking at. There's one, the November 15th for the real sickos, because that's the timing of it, and then the December 15th, or the December 20th, because that will cover 2 Fed meetings just like last time. But the first one will be the 1450 call, November 15th, and these are going for about 9 cents. And so I'm going for the cheaper one so I could get a little bit more quantity, so we're going to see how that plays out. But now the key is, this is a 5% play. Then the next one, the December's, a lot more further out the money because you're getting that extra time. It's a little bit safer, but this is very far out. This is 3 standard deviations out the money. So this is about a 2% play or probability. Now, that could change if there's a run-up or a run-up afterwards. We're going to have to see, but I'm going to start scaling into these probably tomorrow. I want to see what they're priced at, and again, how the market moves. And in general, just TLT's been very, very weird, and I even think all the way up until Wednesday, it's going to get even weirder. So it's going to be hard to get the prices, because realistically, the prices could change right before our eyes depending on everything that leads up into the Fed meeting. So watch out for those, but I'm going to keep my eyes on those. Those could be the play of the week or the play of the month. I will give an update tomorrow's watch list. So the day before the Fed, we're going to have a way better idea, and we'll see how, tomorrow plays out, and it could give us a little bit more insight. But I'm going to be looking over those. Control the budget. That's one thing. Fitbit was also a play today. We made that. And all of these plays here today, I made all of these plays, but I still see these as potential plays because I want to see how the rest of the earnings come. So let us get into the plays. Right off the bat, though, Facebook. I want to see how they move because, again, they're going to have earnings here on Wednesday. And guess what happened? This is what I was anticipating. Now, I'm mad on Google. We are going to lose. We did further out the money call spreads and further out the money put spreads. They were debit spreads, just pretty much playing a surpriser. But I even said it on the live stream. I wanted to get an iron condor. I literally got a 1267 at the low point in a 1330, but it didn't get filled. However, this is going to be a potential play tomorrow. You guys remember what happened with Amazon. They had their move and then it slowly went up. But the fact that Facebook's going up, that's why I made these plays kind of as a sympathy there, because I said, hey, well, if Google doesn't do good, Facebook might go down a little bit, but then they're going to have their pre-earnings and they'll hold up. But if Facebook does good and we don't hit those, then we'll at least have the Facebook to account for those earnings. So Facebook has a few things with their earnings that people are saying is negative. So we're going to see, hopefully we could just flip those plays into the earnings and maybe get some free earnings plays, but I'm going to keep my eye out for that. Then we're also going to have Apple as well, but watch those. But here are the 2 plays I got. These ones are 2 different ones. In this one, I got November 8th. I meant to get November 15th because November 15th was literally $4 more. It's 30 cents instead of 26. But a 207.50, 210 call debit spread. So I think I got 5 of these for like $125 or so. So watch out for those. And then hopefully, depending on how high it goes, or I am expecting positive run-ups into these earnings, as we've kind of seen consistently across the board with some of these big names, and then seeing if we could get some puts on them too, or see the price of the condor. Really, the key coming into all of these earnings, it's just like Google. Google moved way too hot this morning. That's why I was like, okay, maybe we should get the iron condor. But if it doesn't move up too much, there might be a big move coming into the earnings. So that's what I'm saying here with Facebook. If day before earnings, it doesn't really go too crazy, or even the day of earnings, it doesn't do too crazy, it might be packing a bigger move there. But if it does start to move crazy here, I'm going to start leaning more and more to condor as it starts to really gas up into the pre-earnings. So watch that. Then the other one, this one's way out the money. And I got like 10 of these or like 8 of these for like 30 or something bucks because they were $6. So I know I got 5 of them. And this is 3 standard deviations away. It's a big risk reward because these are $5 parts in the strike, but this is just like a low crazy play. And again, we've just kind of been in this environment. That's why I'm willing to take some of these plays. These plays are dumb. These aren't your highest quality plays. And even then I was even thinking I might, if you don't want the big gain, if you're not seeking a higher back end reward, but you still kind of want to play the directions and not risk too much, you might be better off selling some in-the-money put spreads if you think it'll go up, or in-the-money call spreads if you think it's going to go down. But watch that. I like that. And then today we also got Fitbit long. So this was an interesting one. There was a Reuters report that said that they were going to get bought out by Google, or that they're in talks. We had a long debate and talks about this today. We had some good analogies. Some people didn't like it, but I think we had a good discussion on it overall, and hopefully you guys were able to learn from that because you could see kind of how the buyout process works. But I bought shares of this, and why? I did 2 sets. I bought 1 shares. I did 100 shares at $5.90, playing the run up there just to get my hand in the cookie jar, and then I added 50 shares to the long-term portfolio. And I did this one as more of a, this was growth. I did do a big balance. I spent like $270 on it. I gave myself an advance on my deposit I was supposed to make on here on November 7th. And I put it in here and I said, we'll see what happens with it. I think I'm down to hold it there for a little bit because buyouts take time. And that's kind of been the key I've been saying with this. Don't get the options. There is, some cheap options, especially if it gets bought out high. But if you buy an option and you pay way too much for the option, or if you buy it further out the money and they get bought out at a less price, you instantly lose. Buyouts take time. This is just the report. We need to hear what Fitbit says back, what Google says. We don't know anything. It's just a rumor, and they've had stuff like this in the past, so be careful for that. And I am kind of hesitant on the long-term position, but I thought it was worth it to see how it plays out, simply because even on $50, if it does come down here at $4.50, we could stop out there. On 100 shares, you would lose $150, 50 shares, we lose $50. So the key is controlling their budget, and that's the biggest thing we said there. So watch that. And then lastly, the November 15th, 155 calls on Microsoft. I got these today, and I saw them right in the morning, and these are further out, and I like these as a play in the sense of if there isn't a Fed surprise and the market goes up, if Apple does good, Facebook does good, Google bounces tomorrow, everything else is doing good, I think you might start to see a multi-week run from Microsoft as it starts pricing in this, as well as the past earnings, as well as everything else that's been positive in the past. It's just going to take time. And the key to this, you could see Microsoft here. Here's the price of it, but these contracts stayed the same all day. And that was kind of telling me something. We bought them at 10 cents in the morning. The stock went down. The stock came up. You can kind of see it's like an inverse weird looking frog thing. So it has my attention there. I think it's going to be decent. And I might even use this to hedge the TLT play. So if I'm wrong on the TLT play, I might even look towards Microsoft there too. So we'll see what happens. But those are pretty much it. You got the TLTs, and then watch AMD and FireEye tomorrow. Those are some of the other reports are earning. If you guys think there's a better company we should look at, put it up and call it out there. You're also going to get Shopify in the morning, and I think that's one that should be looked at as well too. We'll see. It could be a good post-earnings play. So we'll look for the continuation. We didn't have time to grab any today, and even then it didn't look too attractive there. And then watch FedEx. Again, like I said earlier with the transports and kind of how they moved, something's happened. There was back and forth news coming on, something with like Google Logistics, and they were dropping before, and transports just did awful today. So at least relative, but it's going to be interesting to see. But I'm going to keep my eye out for that if those do develop. Again, kind of where FedEx, UPS, and all of them are at. They've had a big move, but they're kind of at this equilibrium. So maybe sell call spread. So these are the plays I'm going to be watching. Then watch Beyond. They had their earnings, and tomorrow's going to be interesting for these guys. And why I say that, the interesting part is that we have an event tomorrow. It's going to be their lockup. They had their earnings. They guided up. They still went down, which is interesting despite the amount of competition they've had and the fact they reported a profit. But the real interesting part is that the lockup's tomorrow, but are you going to see the effect of the lockup tomorrow? No. And that's what I was thinking about here, because I'm saying we're going to see it tomorrow. You might see a mix of selling with the earnings and all that, but for us to truly get the effect of the lockup, we're going to have to see that probably within 48 hours, depending on the filing, if people do sell. And the only people we're going to see sell on the lockup are going to be the higher executives. Those are the only people who have to file on the filings. Any lower amounts, that's going to be a whole different story. So we're going to see what happens there. So keep your eyes on that. I think it's going to be a good one. Again, watch Microsoft, even Boeing as well too. I think they're at an interesting point. Again, the fact that they're staying down here, it's like any one of these moments when you see that, it's just going to lead this up or down moment, and it could create something. So don't sleep on Boeing. And Lockheed even got a deal today, so we'll see how that plays out. Watch Netflix as well too. Isn't that sad? One day later, we would have made the $1,000. I did go up $100 on my rollover, but if all the other earnings and everything goes good, Netflix might do a little bit better. Looking at this chart makes me want to say the market's manipulated, but you could say that, or we could say just get more time. Keep your head in the game, baby. And then watch HD. They're up today. They've been killing it still, and this is interesting for them to kind of hit these highs, sell off too little bit, but then already bounce here. If they start breaking back up above there, I'm sadly going to have to start getting bullish on them, just because it's showing a lot of support. And the fact is too, McDonald's is selling off. So there's a clear value proposition for some of these companies as people are exiting. But watch McDonald's. This has been a sad thing, because one, there's a lot of money we could have made on that. Imagine those plays last week. We could have made $1,000 off of that, $20 there, or $60 off that. This has been a big move. It's been a bloodbath. Where it's at now is going to be interesting. I wanted to sell put credit spreads to kind of play the bounce and let it kind of start to get into this range. Some people said don't catch a falling knife. You could say the technicals, this and that. The key was, though, if you look at the put premiums, the only way you're getting a real good high credit reward ratio, credit to collateral, you have to buy a 197, or say it's going to go above 197, and that's not really a good play. The credit to collateral on these, that's kind of what makes me not do it. So I'm just looking at the price and what it's offering to take, the risk to reward, and I would expect a little bit more out of there. I'd expect the puts to be higher and to be able to get a high credit play that's still kind of close to the money that we could get on, but everything was almost like a standard deviation and a half. I wasn't down with it. And then we said, look at beyond. That's that for that chart. And then lastly, watch TLT. I'm going to start setting up for those tomorrow. AT&T as well. They had earnings and they're up, but this is a crucial range for them. Again, I said watch for the continuations and see how they do. It's big volume, so we still got that in the long-term portfolio, but they're not up as much. So watch how that plays out. And then lastly, NVIDIA and AMD. AMD is going to have earnings. We'll see if we could get a cheap play on there. They might have the potential to surprise if the options are cheap enough. But NVIDIA, this thing has been on a tear, and it's kind of happening right before our eyes. So watch NVIDIA, Intel, all that. But this could start to set up good. So let's look for our plays on NVIDIA, because you guys know that range I've talked to you. I've let y'all in on the inside on that. So we will see what happens, but that is your watch list, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure you post your watch list. Make sure you're hydrated, healthy, ready to go. And like we said today, be appreciative, man. Be appreciative of everything you got. Once you start focusing on what you got, be happy with where you were at, happy with your account. Don't get pressured into making a play you don't want to make, or do it because you're in a certain situation and trying to get out of it. Enjoy the process. If you can't learn to enjoy and be blessed with what you got now, it's going to be very hard to progress. I was saying all this. Someone said you should care about your money. You lose, you should care. I do care, but I'm not going to care so much where it's going to make me make bad decisions, where it's going to make me lose sight of everything and understand this is a career. If you only plan to be here for 1 year, then yeah, you really should care. But y'all seen a year flow by here on this channel, everything. We got another year after that, another week after that, another day after that, another earnings after that. There's going to be plays everywhere, baby. Don't try to win the war in one day, baby. We got a long time, man. The long winter, in the words of the Chinese. That's what they said. Man, trade war has been going on for 2.5 years. What y'all trying to make man, I'll leave it there, man. I love y'all. I will see y'all in the morning. Y'all better come with the energy. Y'all better stay blessed. And if you don't feel blessed, well, just tell yourself you're blessed, baby. Talk yourself into it. So, let's go!